I'm sure some of you have noticed that I've taken a few days off from posting videos. A couple different reasons for that. The first being is I figured you needed a break from listening to me ramble on about various things. Another part of it is that with this disease comes medications, and dialing those medications in. Trying this one, trying that one to try to figure out how they can help me manage my day-to-day pain and day-to-day functions and you name it. So started a medication, and it was because I'm having a hard time sleeping. So they thought they would try me on a different medication. They had tried a couple different ones before that, and I didn't care for how they made me feel. They made me feel extremely weak and extremely tired, and I don't need anything to make that worse for me than it already is. So they're trying me on a new one, and I've had it in the past, but for different reasons. And it did help me with my sleeping a little bit. Doesn't really help with the pain. So I took it for a few days, upped the dose because I wasn't sleeping enough. And then we decided it was better to go back down in dose. So do that. So I started noticing that I was just feeling blah, like just completely outside of myself. I just felt, I would say a little depressed, but it wasn't even that. I just felt like I just had zero interest in anything, and it showed. A lot of people noticed it. And I noticed it for sure because I felt different, and I just didn't care for how I was feeling. And I said, well, the only new thing I have is this new medication. So I stopped taking it a few days ago now, and I'm starting to feel more like myself. But it's really interesting, this whole thing, because there is no cure. There are a couple medications that have been approved for use for ALS, and it supposedly gives you together. One is called Radazol, the other is called Radicava. Them combined supposedly help give you an extra, say, 6 months of life. I'm not sure what the quality of life is going to be for that extra 6 months, so I'm not really sure there's true benefit from this medication. I don't feel like there is. I certainly don't feel better on it. I'd have a port installed to have one of them put in because I have to infuse it. So we have to do that 10 days out of the month. So 10 days on and 18 days off and 10 days on and so forth. And we have to do it every night, and during that whole process, it's just a nightmare to do because it takes about an hour and a half to do from setup to finish. And so that consumes both my time and Brian's time. It makes me feel cold. I hate the way it feels going into me because it goes directly into one of my major veins. It's a lot like chemo port. It still bothers me. It shouldn't bother me, but it does. I hate having it there. It's uncomfortable. And when it's accessed, you can't take a bath during that time frame. So 10 days without a bath, even wiping yourself down is just not enough. I mean, you get funky after a while. So dealing with that sort of off-putting to me and to Brian. Then you've got all these other things that they try to give you to help with all these other issues that are going on with you as they progress, with your breathing and your saliva, you get to the point where you're just drooling all the time. It's almost like you have too much saliva, but it's not that. Your body just isn't you're not swallowing it like you naturally do, so it just builds up. So there's medications for that. So what I'm trying to get at is there's all kinds of things available to a lot of people, but there's very little things available to people with ALS or motor neuron diseases in general. And there needs to be more effort put into it. And I know there's tons and tons and tons of trials going on. So people are in these trials, and they only accept so many people. Some people get the actual medication, and others get a placebo. And at the end of the trials, most of the time, you don't get to continue to take it, whatever it was that they were giving you, especially if it was making you feel better and then they take you off. What is that going to do? That's not fair. And what does that do to you mentally and physically? Because you go from improving due to a medication to not taking that medication and going right back to where you were. So I'm not really sure that's something I want to be involved in. But there's so many trials, and a lot of them never come to fruition, so you don't really get anywhere with this, it seems. There's always something preventing it, and a lot of it has to do with the FDA not approving things, and you have to have a trial after trial after trial, study after study after study, paper after paper after paper put together, and then half the time people go broke trying to put out this medication and end up giving up. And so it's just, this whole thing is absurd. I feel like I'm wasting time bothering with any of this medication. I feel like it's a waste of money, a huge waste of time, and I don't think it's really benefiting me in any positive sort of way. I take it because my mom feels like it's I should do anything and everything to keep myself alive as long as possible. Well, I'm not really sure what this is. These medications are doing to my body to begin with. I mean, just think about what chemo does to people when they're going through chemo treatments. It does a lot of damage. Now here I am putting in some medication that just got approved not long ago. Not a whole lot of studies done in the United States with it. So I'm just hoping a prayer here and hoping that it don't have horrible side effects somewhere down the road if I do survive this. So who knows? But I'm going to try to get back to making videos. Hopefully no other medications sideline me. Who knows? Because I'm constantly having to try new medications to keep up with this disease. But hopefully I can get to making a few more videos. I'm probably not going to put them out as much as I was. I got a lot of things going on that I got to take care of. But I will put different videos out on the things that are going on and various other topics. But again, if there's something you want to hear about, let me know. I have a few things in queue that people have asked me about, so I will try to get to those as soon as possible as well. But thanks to everybody who's listening and for the feedback that I've received. I really do appreciate it. These videos help keep everybody informed, but it also helps me keep all these things from rattling around in my head. So thank you again.